What's going on, everyone? Kelly Cavalier here with 7 Arrow Media. And thank you all for joining me today on the Honky Tonk Highway. Episode 25, I believe. We've already made it to a quarter of them. Thank you. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, follow us Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're currently broadcasting on both YouTube and Facebook for those who can watch on any device they would like. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in yesterday with Guyton. That was a fun interview for me. And today's guest, what can we say about her? She's pretty much done it all in the line dance world. One of the sweetest women I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I'm kind of looking forward to what y'all are going to get to hear from her today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Jo Thompson Szymanski. Hi, Jo.
Hi, Kelly. Aw, thank you for inviting me. I can't believe you've done 25 of these shows. What a great idea. That's been awesome.
I can't believe it either that I made it through 25. I was kind of shocked. I'm like, wow. I'm going through because I count them all and label the numbers. I'm like, holy crap. We going to do 25 already. I'm like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know you out there, why don't you give everyone a little history on your line dance journey so far?
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for watching and tuning in if you are, and it means a lot for me to get to do this chat. Kelly, thank you for this. And I don't know how I would rather spend the day than to be able to connect with some of my good friends, and so it's definitely going to be fun. So a little bit of my history background. I'm born and raised in Texas, a Texan. I live in Denver, just south of Denver, Colorado now, with my husband, Tim, and our 14-year-old daughter. And I'm a little bit nervous because just today she signed up for driver's ed classes. So please send me a little good mojo on that. And anyway, but so I grew up in Texas in a very musical family. My mom played all sorts of musical instruments. She played the piano, the organ, the big gold concert harp. She could have been a professional musician, but she chose to have a family and be a stay-at-home mom. And then she shared that love of music with my brother and me. My brother's 2 years older than me. And my dad also loved music. And so my very first recollections of dancing were when my dad put me on, I stood on top of his feet and he did the waltz box. And I was probably maybe 5 or 6 years old. And he taught me the waltz box and I was standing on top of his feet, doing it with him. And so I was just one of those kids that absolutely loved music and loved to dance. And I just danced around the house. I didn't walk anywhere. I just danced, And so we lived in such a small town in Texas. There were no dance classes, no dance studios. But apparently a neighboring town, the lady who lived in the neighboring town came to our church on Saturday mornings and started teaching ballet, tap, and jazz. And so as soon as I heard that, I begged my mom to sign me up for classes. And the funny thing is that my mom had always wanted to dance. Even though she did music, she'd never danced really. And so she signed up for the same classes that I was in. So I was 7 years old and my mom was 35 at the time, and she started dancing at that same time. So it became quickly a family activity and just kind of went from there. When I was 15, we opened a dance studio and we started teaching ballet, jazz, tap. My mom and I had that program for kids ages 3 and up. And then my mom and dad taught couples dancing. So 2-step, swing, ballroom, round dancing, country, all of that. We had clogging teams. And as part of our overall program, we did line dancing. And so my brother was my dance partner. My mom and dad taught like it was a real family activity. And so that started when I was 15. And fast forward to today. This year I'll be 55, so I have been teaching 40 years this year. I like to say I started when I was 2, but so it's been my lifelong love and dream, and then went on to major in dance in college and was in a dance company at the college and continued to teach. So I was going to school full-time, teaching dance full-time, and then the line dance thing really took off in kind of early 90s when Achy Breaky Heart, Boot Scoot and Boogie, all that stuff was really popular, and I got a call from the Nashville network saying, I hear you're a line dance instructor, and it was just being in the right place at the right time, I think, and I got really lucky to have a show on the Nashville network teaching called Dance Line, and I hosted and co-hosted for Club Dance and the Wild Horse Saloon, and some of those videos got sent abroad over to the UK, and some folks said, hey, maybe you can come teach some workshops, and so I started traveling. And anyway, long story short, just very blessed and very lucky to have been involved in dance since I was literally a little girl. Yeah, and hope to always still be.
Yeah, I feel music back then was awesome. I feel bad for kids, a little bit for kids these days, because Billy Ray Cyrus did some amazing music back then and going on, and the only thing they're going to ever know that he did was Old Town Road. Half of them are not going to know that he ever did Achy Breaky Heart or had those songs that everyone danced to back then. It's just like, really?
Yeah. And I mean, growing up in Texas, I had a heavy dose of country music, and I love it. And there's that energy that country music has that it's hard to find anywhere else. If I turn on my radio today, it's probably on country, and doesn't mean I don't love all other kinds of music, because I grew up dancing to that as well. But yeah, that good old country stuff is very, very near and dear to my heart. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. All right, so Paul J. and you're going to have a really good giggle at this question. Paul James, and I know you haven't watched many, but Paul James is known to ask multiple questions. So his first question that he desperately needs to know the answer to is, so if you're not a vampire, because he's pretty sure that you haven't aged ever, how do you stay forever gorgeous, and where can you buy it?
I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. That's a very kind question. Thank you very much.
And I'm pretty sure before the end of the interview, he's going to be asking to borrow some of your dresses. So
yeah,
that has happened at every one. So.
Anytime. People that know me well know that I have an affinity, a love for costumes. Yes. And I have pretty much kept every single costume that I have worn since I was 7 years old. And they are in, right now, kind of disarray because we're actually in the middle of moving. But if you were to see my costume, you could borrow anything in my basement. You just make yourself right at home.
I remember last year when me and Kelly came to Fort Wayne for the first time. We were literally driving there with JP, and Jamie messages us and goes, "Is there any way we can shoot an intro video with Joe for the show when she gets to the hotel?" And I'm thinking, oh, this is just gonna be some quick thing. And oh no, we did this elaborate. Had you in your Snow White gown. We went outside in the snow and all through the hotel. Having staff interacting.
I do love to play dress up, I mean, it's just fun. People have asked in different interviews before, if you weren't a dancer or a dance teacher, what would you do? And I honestly think that I would probably work in some sort of costume. Like, I would love to be on a movie set, like what The Great Gatsby, and do costume design for that, do the hair and the styling and like the whole thing. Maybe in another life I'll come back as a costume designer because I do love it.
Amy Gross asked, besides your mom, who else has influenced and inspired you in your dancing over the years?
Well, of course, thank you, Amy, for recognizing my mom. And I'm a little melancholy this week because Mother's Day being Sunday, and my mom passed in 2014. And I just, at this time of year, every year, I miss her daily, but this time of year, especially, with Mother's Day coming around. And so my mom's influence is huge in my life. But other than that, I would definitely have to say some of my early dance teachers. When I was 7, I still remember my first teacher, Judy Ann. The first day I saw her, she was wearing this beautiful yellow dress, and she was so elegant and so poised, and just you could tell she was passionate about what she did and wanted to make sure that we had a good time, and that we learned proper technique, but she made it fun and stuff like that. So Judy Ann, huge influence in my life, and so that was early childhood. And then when I went on to college, my first dance instructor at college, Marjan, was very similar, the same way. So those two female role models were huge for me. And then I also had some great instructors in the couples dance world. When I was about 11, 12 years old, we started doing square dancing as a family. And then at the square dances, we would go, they would also do what they call round dancing, which is the ballroom part of it, right? And so Helen and Leland Neely were some of my round dance instructors, Charlie and Betty Proctor out of Dallas. Many of these people that I'm speaking about aren't even alive anymore, but their influence, is huge on me of what I learned from them, and now still passing on to other people. In the line dance world specifically, Max Perry is my go-to. If I have a question about anything in the dance world, technique or the name of the step or rhythm or timing, I email Max, or maybe I email Kathy, and then Kathy tells Max.
Kathy has Max do it,
right? She asked Max, and then she responds. But yeah, Max Perry has been was definitely one of those people that I was very lucky to know on a knowledge basis.
Right. Big Jim wants to know: does strangers still recognize you from the TNN days?
No. Because I had the big hair, right? It's like the big hair, and so yeah, nobody has quite stopped me recently. But thanks for asking.
Andy Williams wants to know, what is the most favorite character you've got to dress up and play through the years at all the shows?
Oh, okay. So it just popped into my mind. I've done some really fun, cool characters. You said Snow White at Fort Wayne. That was fun. I got to do, I was on the girl from Gilligan's Island. I was Ginger from Gilligan's Island. Got to be the Little Mermaid in Vegas a couple of years ago. That was super fun. But one of the ones that I just really loved was Rachel put together the show where we did the Alice in Wonderland kind of characters. And I got to be the Queen of Hearts. And I had that big red wig with the red lips. And I had this black dress with these kind of like ruffles out, on it. Yeah. And, it's like, because I usually get the kind of princess, character, like the sweet and innocent, ones. But as the Queen of Hearts, it was like I got to be fierce and mean all of a sudden for once, So that was probably one of my favorites. Yeah. Queen of Hearts for sure.
Nice. What is your favorite dance you choreographed?
So I watched you with Guyton yesterday when you asked him, and he said it was a hard question. It is a hard question. It's like saying which one of your children do you like the best, or which, so I think the one that means the most to me, and I talked about my mom a little bit ago, is Rita's Waltz. And Rita's Waltz is 24 counts, and it has one turn in it, and it is, relatively simple, depending on what, your perspective maybe as a dancer. But my mom when she was alive, she taught line dancing also, and she had a class of beginners, and this was years ago. And she said, she and I used to choreograph a lot of dances together. And she said, Joe, I want you to choreograph a dance for me. And she said, I need a waltz for my beginner class. She said, can you do a waltz with no turns? And I'm kind of like, okay, that would be kind of okay, but maybe a little boring, Of course, I was like, how about one turn? And she's like, okay. So I did Rita's Waltz, and little did I know that it would become one that's done as a lot of people's first waltz, or early waltzes or whatever, and it's done around the world. And a lot of times we do it holding hands. And now that my mom has passed on, I honestly feel every time I dance Rita's Waltz, I feel her holding my hand, like standing next to me. And so of all the dances I've choreographed, probably Rita's Waltz is the one that I feel the most emotionally connected with. So I have to say it's my favorite. So.
I would say that's definitely worth it. Paul James said his second question is, when they come over and try on all your dresses, will you school him on how to be a gorgeous pageant queen?
Oh, I don't think he needs much coaching. He is absolutely stunning, Paul. You are just, I love you so much. So, it's funny because I've stayed in touch with my pageant sisters, and we actually have a group chat going, right now with some of the formers, and it's like I'm inspired by them, and to see some of the ladies, like one of the ladies is celebrating this year the 50th anniversary of her being Miss Texas, and mine was 87, so a few years ago it was the 30th anniversary, and so I'm super inspired still by the impact that these women are making in their communities and with their families and their friends, and so I might share some little pageant tips with you if you'd
like. Johanna asked, as a miracle, what kind of practical advice can you provide the general dance population about working through our current challenges?
Aw, a miracle. That's sweet. Thank you, Johanna. So Johanna, I think, is referring to probably the health challenges that I went through. And So just in a nutshell, I'll just say that very quickly. So our daughter is 14 years old. When I was pregnant with her, at 8 weeks, and when you go in and you get the checkup, at the 8-week checkup, I was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which means your bone marrow has shut down and you're not producing any blood counts. And so there was a lot of concern for not only my health and safety, but the baby as well. So anyway, the aplastic anemia, the side effects of some of the treatment ended up affecting my hips and my shoulders. All my major joints were affected. So Anna was born on June 17th. The middle of July, my hips and shoulders basically fractured. And so I went from being able to dance and teach and travel and do what I was doing professionally to literally not being able to. I couldn't even wash my hair because I couldn't move my shoulders. I couldn't put on my shoes. I couldn't shave my legs. I couldn't hold my baby. I couldn't lift my baby. I literally had almost frozen overnight, which is very humbling. And so I relied a lot on my family and my friends at that time for strength to help me through it. And the line dancers definitely stepped up and supported me. We've talked a lot about the Line Dance Foundation. They came in and helped with some of my medical expenses. And so it was just do what I can do at this moment and make the most of what I can do. Like I knew that I couldn't lift Anna, but I could sit in the chair and somebody could bring her to me and I could hold her. Like I had to learn to be creative and adapt and just keep going. You know, when Anna was a little bit older, I was on crutches still and couldn't carry her. So we put a ladder up to her changing table and she would climb up the ladder, lay down on the changing table. I would change her diaper and then she would climb back down the ladder because I couldn't lift her, you know. And so the beautiful part of it was to her, it was totally normal. Like she didn't know that was any different from what you're supposed to do, you know. And But like I said, I definitely relied on friends and that I have a box of all the cards. I don't know where it is right now because like I said, we're moving. I have a box of all the cards that were sent to me during my transplant or during that time. And then ultimately I went on to have a bone marrow transplant to fix that. And I'll be celebrating 10 years of that from this year. And I have a box of those cards and I'm going on my 10-year anniversary of my bone marrow transplant this November. I'm going to open that box and I'm going to read all those cards and just be thankful for the support of my friends and family because that was a huge part of my getting through it. So thanks, Johanna, for asking that. Sweet. You were one of the friends that helped me. So.
Maddie B wants to know, is there anything you would like to see the current line dance community bring back or that you missed from when line dancing really took off? More country music. That's my answer.
More country music. Yeah, you know, somebody laughed and said that it used to be we would do the same dance to like 100 songs, right? You would do tush push to 100 songs, and literally now it's like sometimes you think, well, they have 100 dances to the same song. You know, it's kind of a reverse, but I don't know. I think just and I do see it still. It's just that raw passion that people had when it was brand new. Like they just couldn't get enough. And we were happy to dance tush push for 100 songs. Right. You know, is like, just don't forget why you do this. We do this because we love it. And we love that music. Like you were saying, Kelly, it's like, you know, we are so lucky to get to do it and just keep that pureness and realize that it's, you know, it's a gift to be a part of this dance community. And sometimes we take it for granted. Maybe it's like, you know, just assume that everybody knows how great it is. Well, you know, share it with a friend and show them how wonderful it is by showing your passion. I think, you know, keep that passion, keep that fire.
Yeah, I had a couple weeks ago, I had a buddy of mine named Larry Carlisle on, who's a DJ at a local country bar. Mm-hmm. And the one thing we're talking about is back in the day, everyone would come dancing at country bars. That's where everyone pretty much got their start because no one knew about these dance events. And now you see all these country bars shutting down because no one goes to them anymore. And it's like if we went back to going when we're actually home to dancing locally, we'd have more places to dance and enjoy it. And not like back then, you could go to the same bar 5-6 nights a week. It was
right.
Like, you didn't matter where. Like me and Guyton were talking about when I was up a couple weeks ago when I went up to see him and Natalie to shoot for him Digital Dance Weekend. Depending on what week, we'd be at a different country bar around the state of Florida, and he'd be teaching and dancing, and we like. But that's how we kept country bars going back then. And nowadays, you don't see any of the support, and you don't see any of the local. It's like that's where we all started. Why wouldn't you go back and keep supporting it?
So. It's hard. I mean, it is definitely hard. And I know, I kind of talk about seasons in our life that, things change and we have to kind of go with the flow, maybe, so to speak. Like this season of my life, I have a husband and a family, and and I'd love to be able to go out dancing on, when the clubs open back up on a more regular basis. But for right now, we're dancing in our kitchen and in our dining room and our basement, and so just, and there may be a season, the next season of my life where I'm able to be able to, if it's not a school night or whatever, go out dancing more, but to support each other. I think that's really obviously very, very important, and know that whatever we can do to work together and support each other to keep this dance community alive especially this time, it's going to be really, really valuable going forward.
Yeah, so one of the questions that came through, someone asked about how many times you've choreographed with Scott Blevins.
I don't know how many. A lot. Probably 10 or 12, I guess, Through the Fire, Cha-Cha Burn, The Bounce, Wakey Wakey, Boom Pow, Texas Connection. I'm going to forget some.
Which one has been your favorite to choreograph with them?
It's hard. That's hard to say. One of the things that I do like, a slightly different answer to your question about choreographing with Scott, is that we really do collaborate when we work together. Like it's not, I do 8 counts and then you do 8 counts and then then I do 8 counts and then you end up with your dance. Like we really to me, collaboration is I send you some ideas, you work on those ideas, and then it comes back to me looking different. My ideas are still in there, but it took you in a different direction. And then you send it back to me. And then it's like molding it constantly. And then when you get to the end, it's a real blend of the two people that are collaborating.
Both of your talent, right.
And I try, and both of us try really hard not to be offended. Like if the other person says, well, I don't really like how that feels, try it this way. Well, you can't get attached to, well, that was my step and you changed it, right? Because that's not the important thing. The important thing is at the end result, you're happy with the dance overall, right? And if I hadn't done those 2 steps, it might not have taken him in the direction that it did. Right. And so therefore I still had a piece in that, step. And so, end result with Scott, I have to say I am really enjoying the bounce, because that's one of our more recent ones, because it's just like, it's just fun and I get a good cardio exercise out of it, and Scott sometimes pushes me to do things that are a little bit harder and more challenging. And then I sometimes say, Scott, let's do this a little easier, like we are a good blend for each other on that way, So I'm really digging the bounce and just getting to do that with lots of folks right now.
Awesome. This one's from Rob Glover.
Hi, Rob.
And this is kind of long-winded. Thanks, Rob. He says, Joe, like many of my peers across various genres of our mutual dance world, you have been a major inspiration to me, not only as a dancer, but as a choreographer and as a host/MC. Who would you say are your life inspirations and who helped shape you as a well-rounded performer in the entertainment industry? Wow, Rob. That is a deep, thoughtful statement, man.
Wow. Thank you, Rob, for listening in. And
those have been coming from Fred the last couple of weeks. I'm kind of...
So, So one of the things I'm thinking about what you just said, Rob, is that trying in this line dance community, and you kind of hit the nail on the head of trying to play a lot of different roles, right? Not just to be an instructor, not just being a choreographer, not just be a DJ, not just be the person that helps with the show, not just be the host, like trying to hone those skills so that I try to add value to the event. And if somebody needs somebody to step up and say, I can stand at the door and welcome people, I'd be, I try to fill that role, or I can, step in and teach a technique class if I need to. So I try, as what you're saying, Rob, is I try to think about all the different things that I can offer to an event or to the community, and try to keep those going. And so part of that, I go back. You were talking about pageants earlier. One of the girls who was who was Miss Texas right before me, Tamara, she represented that so well. She was so talented, so kind, like her work ethic was huge. Like she was ready to step up and do whatever she needed to do. And so Tamara was a huge inspiration to me early on. This was way back in my early 20s. Okay. And so I kind of looked at her and I said, all right, that's the way I want to do it. My mom was also that way as well. Like when we opened our studio, she wore every hat. She did registration, she picked the music, she had to choreography and stuff. And so she was a huge influence in that as well. Today I am constantly amazed by Rachel McEnany White has just exemplified exactly what I just said. She has all those abilities and she's willing to share them. Like she does choreography. She's an instructor. She is obviously a DJ. She can be an MC. She can put together the show. She is now doing all this great stuff online digitally and teaching us. And then she's great with cosmetics and makeup, and so I'm constantly, and now she's an amazing mom, she's juggling all these things. And so I'm most recently, I've always been inspired by Rachel, but she just continues to do that for me right now as a woman and a mom.
That's awesome. I remember the first time I saw you MC. It was actually right after the very first time I ever danced with you. I remember the first time we West Coast Swing, it was in Vegas in the Dance Explosion, and then you were going to MC at the U.S. Open. And it was the first time I'd been to the U.S. Open, and it was weird because I'm sitting in the back. Rachel's about to go on to dance. You're about to MC, and Louie's in the DJ booth, and I'm like, I feel like I'm at a line dance event.
And it's the big swing event, yeah.
And it's the biggest swing event pretty much of the year, and I have top line dancer MCing, the top at the time DJ line dance DJ, and the top line dancer dancing in the competition. I'm like, I felt like I was right back at a line dance event from the week before. I'm like, and I'm at a swing event. It's like, this is kind of funny.
Yeah, I love that.
It was awesome. It was just how the worlds just collided. It was great.
Well, I think that's a great example, Kelly, is that I've always said, dance is the nail that I hang my hat on, right? That's dance. Some days I might wear that line dancer hat, and some days I'm going to wear a swing dancer hat, and some days I'm going to do a salsa dance hat, and some days I'm going to be doing lyrical jazz, and some days I'm doing Zumba, and some days it might be tap, and then the next day I'm going to try to do, I'm so funky, I try to do hip hop, It's like, ask Guyton about that, right? So I try not to pigeonhole that, we have to be just one. Dance is dance, and it all blends together if we let it. Like it's this great fusion, and what you learn. I always encourage people, if you want to improve your dancing, try a different genre that you're not comfortable with, right? And you're going to learn something that you can bring back to whatever it is that is your favorite thing, and then it's going to make it better, So I've always said that try to pull from different parts of the dance world, and go to YouTube and turn on New York City Ballet and do some of their stretches, or then go on this. It's like, if you really want to challenge yourself, then you can look outside what it is that you already know, and then it'll make what you know better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when I was learning how to couples dance with Sean Sways and Donna Bonham, they would be like, how can you learn choreography so quick? I go, have you ever tried to learn a Guyton Mundy dance without a step sheet? And try to learn and just by watching him. It's kind of like the same thing, but y'all don't move the same way he does. It's kind of nice. I was telling people that all the time. Learn a different genre. It's great. Stacy DW wants to know, do you have a favorite choreographer?
Wow. That's... All right, so I don't know if she's probably meaning within the line dance world, right?
Probably.
All right, so that would be really hard to because I mentioned Rachel earlier. Obviously, love her dances. Madison Glover is doing some just brilliant stuff right now. I obviously love working with Scott, and Guyton and I have worked together. So to pick one of those, it's literally impossible, because this struck me earlier today, is that I think every single person in our line dance community, whether it be a pro, an instructor, choreographer person, or just someone who enjoys dancing, or maybe a local instructor, each person brings something unique to our community, right? And Guyton is one of a kind. Nobody can be Guyton, right? And Rachel is one of a kind. Nobody can be Rachel. And so trying to say this is better than that, it's like that's really difficult for me, because I wanted to take little bits and pieces from all of them and try to learn and get better because of being with them. Outside the line dance community, my favorite choreographer is Alvin Ailey. And if you haven't looked up Alvin Ailey, just go on YouTube and do yourself a favor. So Alvin Ailey, I'm pretty sure he's no longer alive, but his modern dance company was this beautiful fusion of different people from different backgrounds and ethnicities and even ages and stuff. And he would do a lot of gospel music. Revelations was the number that they always closed their concert with. And people are up dancing in the aisles. And what I was talking about earlier is having that raw passion for dance and movement. Mm-hmm. When you watch that Alvin Ailey dance company, that passion just oozes out of them. And you just are so inspired when you watch that. And that's true in line dancing, when you watch certain people dance, and you can tell that they just love dancing. That's what really motivates me. And that's what inspires me, And so if you haven't watched Alvin Ailey, look them up. And it's definitely inspiring for me to see that. That's my probably favorite choreographer outside of the line dance community.
Yeah, I've seen many of his performances. His groups have performed on different dance shows. And Rob just said one of them, Wade in the Water. Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Gosh. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So amazing stuff. I think Jim just posted a couple. He died in 1989.
Oh, okay. Yep.
December 1st, 1989. Yes.
But I'm pretty sure that the company is, as far as I know, company's still alive. There were people that took it over and kept it running. Judith Jameson, I think, was one that kept it going for a while as the executive director and whatnot. So so definitely.
Let's see here. Boom, some of these questions. I got tons of them coming in. I'm trying to keep up with them all. Paul James wants to know, is there any item out there that you just cannot live without? The one thing you just have to have?
Oh, gosh.
That's a good one. I know people always have their stuff they can't travel without, that one and stuff like that. I know there's certain things I can't travel without that always goes in my backpack.
Let's see. I could think of a few things. I'm a big green tea drinker. So in the morning, I get up and I always have to have my green tea. I was drinking black tea with milk for a while when I traveled over to UK, and I love that, proper British tea. Right. It just doesn't taste the same back home for some reason. I don't know why. So I've been drinking green tea. Probably a good, lip gloss, a little advertisement for Rachel, glossy gloss. Because you know what? Living in Colorado, my lips get so dry. Like, if I don't have some sort of lip gloss or lip balm or something on, my lips are just like chapped. So, so my green tea, my lip balm, I'm kind of addicted to walnuts and cashews. So you'll probably see me at events, and in the evening, I go in my bag and I have like little snacks, and I'm like eating little walnuts and cashews and dark chocolate. Oh, okay, dark chocolate. Maybe forget all the rest of what I just said. Dark chocolate. That would be the one thing I get. Chocolate. Okay, yeah. Forget all that other stuff. I'd give up lip balm. I'd give up any of it for dark chocolate. So, but yeah, that's it.
Chris Jocks asks, and this is a good one, Chris. What advice do you have for newer choreographers trying to improve and be more consistent in producing quality dances? Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
It is a good one. Yeah. Thanks for asking that, Chris. So choreography is just like anything, any skill that the more you learn about it, the more you do it, you're going to learn from mistakes sometimes, and then just look back at it and go, oh, wow, I should have done that differently, or maybe so I kind of have a checklist for choreography when I'm doing mine. It's like, do I have turns in both directions? If all my turns are in one direction, it's going to feel lopsided, right? So make sure you have a balance of right and left turns, okay? I also am a real big proponent on not putting all your cool steps in one dance, because then it just looks busy and nothing really stands out. And if you're really trying to highlight things in the music has highs and lows. And so you want your choreography to have those highs and lows. So you want to have a cool step, and then you want to have some kind of what I call filler, like a transition before the next cool step. Okay. And I kind of equate this to, if you watch the West Coast Swing in the West Coast Swing community, if you watch the Jack and Jill competitions, the best couples dancers, when they're doing Jack and Jill, and this is just on the fly, do a lot of basics with a strategically placed cool move.
Yep.
And when they do that cool move, the audience goes, wow, right? But if they did cool move, cool move, cool move, cool move, cool move, there's no impact. Does that make sense? And so when you're doing a line dance, you want that same impact. You want to set it up so that I have this basic or this filler transition piece, and all of a sudden, boom, this cool move is really highlighted because of something that happened musically. All right. And then transition. So for me, that's important to have the highs and lows in the choreography as opposed to it being busy. So right and left turns, not too busy. And then body flow. Man, body flow is king, I think. If it doesn't feel, and what feels good to one person may not feel good to the next person. But if you're having to force yourself to go in a direction constantly on this one part, that's a forced move. And so maybe look at why you're having to force yourself to do that. Or if you keep forgetting that step, that probably is because your body is not wanting to do it, right? So really listen to your body, respect the kinesthetic aspect of choreography. To me, that's really important, that your body is trying to tell you what feels comfortable, and listen to that as opposed to forcing it to do something that's not a natural flow. So flow to me is important too. So yeah, those are kind of some things that are important to me about choreography.
I loved your Jack and Jill reference. I love that because back when I competed in country, and newcomer, the Division 4, how they go, the lowest division, you weren't allowed to really do any alternate rhythms. You had to do the basics. They wanted to prove that you can dance the basics. And I had routines for every division except for West Coast Swing. I literally did the same 4 moves in a different order, depending on what the song was. I won the dance every time because I knew exactly, like you said, I did 4 really good basics, and then I literally would just do that 4th one at the end when the 32 count break would hit. Or something where people would see it and notice it, and it's like, guys, it's not hard. Literally, that's exactly what I did for 2 minutes. And let me tell you, it's a long 2 minutes when you only do the same 4 moves over and over again. But hey.
But you were dancing to the music. You were dancing with the music. Like you were letting the music kind of go through you. And it probably, that's why it worked better, because it wasn't like, I have to do it this way. You were letting your body express it. Right. And as a line dancer, I would love to see more people. John Robinson teaches this awesome class about Oops, I Variated.
Yes.
Right. And I think that it would be, if you've been dancing for a while and you know the steps to a dance, then challenge yourself to throw in a variation every once in a while, because the music inspires it.
Right.
All right. Now, if you do a variation and it was just a variation, then that might be kind of cool. But if the music all of a sudden inspired you to do something, then it's going to have that impact that we were just talking about, So I would love to see more line dancers take that chance to have more music interpretation within their basic structure. If you've done the dance 100 times, then keep it fresh for yourself by adding a little bit of a different nuance. Maybe it's a head turn, maybe it's a shoulder pop. It's not that you're changing the choreography, you're adding another layer to it and keeping it fresh for yourself that way, I think.
Like I love the fact that World Dance Masters right now is doing the 4 technique classes with Fred, Shane, Jessica, and I think Jenny's doing the other one. Just the fact that if you learn, so many people nowadays are just so worried about learning all the steps. Not learning how to do the steps possibly the proper way, it make the dance 100 times easier. 100 times easier.
Yeah. And like one of the technique classes that I've taught, and some folks might have taken it from me, is taking your dance to another level. And people can find what level is comfortable for them. But if you kind of get that feeling, like I said, you're kind of starting to feel like you've plateaued out, there is, I've danced since I was 7 years old, and I'm still looking for another level to try to keep it fresh for me and challenging for me, And so if you are having that, and especially right now, being that we're obviously at home and we're not able to be at events where the new dances are coming out and being done, take this opportunity to try some techniques. Some people say, well, it's not for me, or maybe I'm not comfortable trying that. Well, just, try it and see. And like you said, it probably is going to give you better balance. It's going to give you better control. It's going to make your dancing more effortless. It's going to feel better. It's not just about looking great for a judge or something. It's that you're going to get more. What you put into the dancing is what you get out of it. And that's where that sometimes the styling and the technique can definitely come into play and help, I think.
So for those who out there that don't know me, almost everyone who knows me can tell you what my favorite dance is. And my favorite line dance of all time is actually one that you co-choreographed. I've taught it. I've danced it. My favorite dance of all time is actually Hideaway Cha.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I do it every time it's played. I do it. Kelly is like, your dance is on, your dance is on, your dance is on. It's not one I choreograph. I've taught it at the barn before.
Aww.
I've taught it. I love it. It's my favorite dance. And so Trevor gave me another question the other day, and it's not the event question on whether or not who your 5 instructors are, because he gave me that one too. And I actually could not answer the question, and so I'm curious. You'll be my first one. I figured if anybody could answer it, would you? If you could go back in time and re-choreograph any song that you've written to, what would it be? That's the exact look I gave him when he asked me about it. I'm like every dance I've choreographed for the competition in the USLDCC, every one I've choreographed back when I was getting into choreography, I'm like, huh. He goes, even the ones that lost, I go, I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know an answer to this question.
Yeah, that's a hard one, because it's like I'm the first to say that I'm picky about choreography, and I bless Madison Glover's heart. When she and I were working on Pull You Through, we were working together, but we sent probably 150 videos back and forth on 2 counts of that dance, and and it's like, we were both happy with the end result, but I'm like, it could have been so easy to give up and just say it's okay, but it wasn't okay, and I knew if we kept working on it, we could make it perfect, right? So not every dance you're going to have that feeling of it being perfect,
Right.
So I don't know if I can answer that either.
I couldn't. I'm like, he asked me that the other day, and I haven't had. I think he gave it to me on Friday after my show on Friday with or right before Paul and Stacy, and I thought about it all weekend, and I couldn't for the life of me figure. I'm like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I'm like, I'm going through, and I just couldn't think of any. I'm like, even the ones that lost, even the ones that people have never seen again after I competed them. I'm like, no, I don't know if I would, because I put so much. I'm like you. I'm very picky. I'm a perfectionist. It drives me nuts. And I just go through, and I'm like, no, I don't think I could answer that question.
Mm-hmm. Well, and plus, it's like, what good would it do now?
Right,
it's
exactly.
Like if the dance is already out there, right? And
right.
So you just have to say that's where I was at that moment in my life. And that's what I did at that, wherever the dance was, and thankfully some dances do stick around and
mm-hmm.
some dances don't, I was just thinking earlier today, it was like, there's so many great dances. And there's not enough time to learn them all, for one thing,
No.
And unfortunately, not all of them get out there or stay out there, and so I'm thankful that some like Pull You Through and Hideaway Cha and Dizzy and different ones, have stayed around. If it stays around more than 6 months, you're like, woo, it's a classic, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, you just gotta, I can't. And I also tend to be a little bit of a worrier. So I can't, I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot of a worrier. So I can't, if I start worrying about the dances that are already out there, then I'm like, okay,
right.
Probably wouldn't sleep at night thinking I could have done that better, or I should have done those 2 counts different, or I should have fixed that, right? So,
all right.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Now that we're getting near the end of the hour, I'm going to ask you the question that everyone has dreaded. Some people have liked it, though, so it's kind of nice because it gets a little bit of a feel to it. If money was no object, where would you hold a dance event? And who would be just the first 5 that you call, instructors that you'd call to ask? Not that they're the only 5, just the first 5 that you'd want to call and bring on board and be there for your day. Or your weekend.
My gosh.
Or in Fred's case, your year, because Fred said he's just going to go for a trip around the world pretty much, and it's going to take about a year. And like I said, it was pretty much like Guyton Mundy's retirement. We're just going to go from events.
There you go.
He finally answered. It took like 20-something months for his retirement yesterday. We asked. The question got asked, how long did his retirement tour actually take? And I think he said it was like 27 months.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Woo. Wow. Okay. So, gosh, that's a very hard question, because you could take, it's like, I would love to do like a, you're not going to get probably a solid answer out of me. You know that, right?
I haven't really got a solid answer out of many people. But it's fun to go. It's fun to see everyone's thinking process of who they would bring. Like a lot of people, like Madison went girl power, which that Madison went all girls. Shane, I think, went all guys except for one. It's been fun to watch how they think the process of who works together. It's kind of been fun. I like the locations the best. Except for Amy's. Amy Bailey said she was going to put it on the moon.
On the moon?
I'm like,
well, why not?
I would like to see you try to dance with no gravity.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, so the location would be, if money were no object, this place doesn't even exist anymore. So the studio, Thompson School of Dance in Lufkin, Texas, was my family studio. And that actual location is no longer there. However, the girl who was our assistant when my mom retired, she took the studio over, and then she has it at a different location. But if I could have that, the studio where my very first, place that I taught, and it wouldn't be big enough for maybe, we could have 75 people in there. That would be it, right? And I could have my mom, my dad, my brother. That's 3 people.
That is 3. There you go. Look at that.
Right. So 2 of those who passed on, my brother, and probably, obviously, his wife and kids should come. So all my family members would be there and teaching. But, if you talk about line dance, I would have to go Max Perry, Scott Blevins, John Robinson, Jamie Marshall, those folks that I feel like, even, Rob back in the day when he it was like he was so much fun, and so I'd love to get that, like, really kind of old school group together. Alan Livett, my tour manager from over in the UK. I know I'm past my 5 now, so that would be super fun to get some of those folks.
I love the nostalgia. I think it was Glover I told about. I was working a West Coast Swing event, and I ran into Rob out in Cali randomly one week. I'm like, wait a minute, I know you.
Yep.
And it was just random. I'm like, out of the blue, 10 years after the last time I saw him at a line dance event or a world championship, there he is at a West Coast Swing event.
Yep. I hope he's still dancing. He was amazing. So yeah, he does show up every once in a while.
He does.
Rob Fowler. I mean, how many people? And yeah, so I love that. But then I'm also super inspired by all these young people, Maddie and Roy and Fiona and Shane and Fred and all the young people that are out there doing some amazing choreography. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can narrow it down to 5. If I had to I'd say 5. I would step back and do a recreation of Thompson School of Dance with my family teaching together one more time. That would just be magic.
That would be cool. So thank you so much for coming on today, and listening to all my questions and answering them as best as possible.
It wasn't too scary. I was a little nervous all day today because I'm like, what if he asks me like really hard, scary questions? I know you're not asking like the folks that are.
I come up with some. I come up with a couple general ones, but yeah, some of the questions that a couple people have been asking, like Fred's had some good ones. Glover's was amazing. Trevor came up with a couple for me after. Of course, he did this after the first show where I had him on, the way he didn't have to answer it.
Right.
Like, he came up with the event question after he was on, so where he didn't have to answer it.
Oh, yeah. Thanks a lot.
So I hope everyone at home enjoyed watching and listening to Jo talk about all the stuff that's happened in her life so far. Don't forget, in about 3 more minutes, guys, John Robinson is teaching a classic over on the social distancing page. He is teaching Dangerous.
Awesome!
Back to the past. So,
and I've signed up to teach a couple of those as well in the next couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to being back on with that as well.
Should be fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow, I got an awesome treat for you guys. And Jo was there and got to meet these 2 guys. If you weren't at Fort Wayne, you got to meet an awesome band by the name of AC Thomas. Austin and Chad will be on. They are the masterminds behind the song Hillbilly Shake that Jamie Marshall wrote to. And I got them coming on with me tomorrow talking about country music, right into a dance, being at a dance event for the first time. So this should be an awesome hour with these 2 guys. These 2
super nice guys.
Yeah, super nice guys from Alabama who it's going to be a fun hour. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, like, follow, share, all the social media stuff. Same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow, guys. Enjoy.
Take care, everybody. Stay safe. I look forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully very soon.